Now, without any further delay, I'd like to turn today's meeting over to our presenter, Esteban Garcia. Esteban, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Jana. Hello, everyone. My name is Esteban Garcia. I'm a solutions architect at AgileThought. We're a software solutions company based out of Tampa, Florida. We're a Microsoft Gold partner in application development and application lifecycle management. I'm a Visual Studio ALM MVP and Microsoft ALM Ranger. Today, I'm going to show you some of the features that make Team Foundation Server 2012 a great tool for you and your team to use. Here's some additional information about our company, AgileThought. So for those of you not familiar with Team Foundation Server 2012, let me give you an overview of what it is and how it works. Team Foundation Server is made up of multiple components meant to help you and your team deliver software. It encompasses the entire software development lifecycle, from requirements and project management all the way through the deployment. Imagine being able to follow a requirement from the planning stage to prioritization, then see what the development tasks made up the solution, being able to track all bugs against a requirement and the development tasks that took to fix those bugs. Then you can integrate new code into your build process, and you can see what code is associated with which tasks and user stories or requirements. Testers can then manage and run through their test cases from Microsoft Test Managers, and then you can get feedback from your users and get that feedback fed right into TFS. So TFS is not just one thing. It's not just source control. It's not just a project management tool. It's not just a software development tool. It's really a way to collaborate and be able to run through all the entire through all the pieces of your software development lifecycle and integrate them together. One of the things that TFS does is build quality into your process. So instead of waiting until the end of the project to tackle quality like we've done in the past, TFS helps you show you how to build quality right into the process. So I'm going to go through some different scenarios and show you how TFS can help you with those. So for the application lifecycle is defined into these different stages. You have the define stage where you create your requirements and you create your product backlog if you're doing agile development. Then you have the development stage where you really have your implementation. Implementation is not just coding the application, but it's really coding and running test cases and doing some automation and just really making sure that your application is ready to go to production. And finally, you have your operation stage where you can monitor the application and use the data that's captured while you're monitoring the application to feed your backlog so the application keeps evolving. So during the definition stage, you may have an issue with conflicting priorities. So at the beginning of the project, it's difficult to build something if you really don't know what comes first and really what should be prioritized. So let me show you how TFS 2012 solves this issue. So TFS 2012 has a new web-based management tool that allows you to really get to all the information in TFS right from your browser. Starting with the home page, automatically you can see you can get a glimpse of what's going on in your project. I can see that I'm in my sprint 3. I have 39 hours left of work to do. I have this is what my burn down looks like. For those of you doing agile development, you're probably familiar with a burn down chart. For those of you that are not, a burn down chart really gives you an idea of where you are compared to where you should be within your iteration. So I can see that based on today, I'm about 10 hours behind, and hopefully my team is going to catch up today. I can go into my backlog, and this gives me a list of all the stories or all the requirements that I still have to fulfill. So my product backlog shows me a list of everything that I still have to do. Let's say that today my product owner decides that, you know what, invoices, having a customer being able to pay invoices is our top priority. So although it's all the way down at number 6, we need to move that up to a higher priority. They can easily just click on this item and drag it all the way to the top, and it automatically becomes top priority. I don't have any plugins or anything like that to make this work within my browser. This is just just HTML at work. Let's say that I wanted to add a new product backlog item, and I wanted to add it right here, right after number 4. So I can say I want my customer to be able to print statements, and I can enter the item and click on add, and automatically that gets added right into my backlog. If I want to add additional details about it, I can double click on it, and you get the familiar work item dialog where you can assign it to someone or add some level of effort, and save and close this. From my product backlog, I can also decide both this next priority this next story, I want to tackle that in my next sprint number 4. So I can take my product backlog item and just drag it into sprint 4. And that automatically, as you can see from the right hand side, the iteration has been updated to show the sprint where this story is allocated to. I can do the same thing with different stories. The same way, I can also take something out of the sprint and move it right back into the backlog. And as you can see, the iteration path just gets updated automatically. This is not something where I have to hit save somewhere and sync things. This happens right on the screen, which is a change to what you saw in previous versions. In TFS 2010, you had an Excel spreadsheet which worked really well, but you had to always refresh and publish all the data. This happens right on the screen, and it's real time, and you don't need to install anything on your machine. So a developer can use this, a project manager can use this, someone that doesn't have Visual Studio at all on the machine can use this. So it's great in that sense. Once you get through your product backlog, you get into the sprints, so your iterations. I need to see what you've assigned to your team. Let's say that let's go back to product backlog and move one of these stories into sprint 3. And let's say the service rep can view service ticket details. We're going to move it to sprint 3. We typically wouldn't do this in the middle of sprint, but for demo purposes, this works. So once I have my list of stories and tasks that we have committed to for this sprint, I can add a new task related to this story. So to do so, I just click on the plus icon to add the task. So maybe I have some UI changes, and I think that's going to take about 8 hours, and I'm going to assign it to one of my developers, and I'm save and close. And automatically this got added here, and if you might have noticed that I see the list of all my team members here on the right hand side. Before I added this task, Brian had 12 hours left of work to do, and he was right on target. But now that I've added 8 hours to him, all of a sudden I've assigned way too much work to him. So I could do a couple of things. I could either assign it to someone else and see that Annie has some availability, or we could say, you know what, unfortunately, we can't take this story onto this sprint, so I'm going to take this story and move it over to sprint 4, and now we're back into the right capacity. So TFS 2012 has added some great planning and prioritization tools that give you information right away without having to go to a spreadsheet or wait for a report to run. All the information that you need to be able to plan for your sprint and execute on your sprint is right at your fingertips. The other thing that you get is the burn down task, the burn down chart that I showed you earlier gets updated real time. So as you can see right now, we're a little bit behind, but let's say that one of the developers was able to finish their tasks today. So let's go to Brian's and say that, well, there's actually this one only has 1 hour left here, and maybe this task over here, there's only 2 hours left on this task. If we take a look at the burn down chart, the information got updated automatically. And again, I didn't have to wait for pull up a report or wait for anything to run. All the information is right at my fingertips, and I can make decisions based on this. The other great thing that you have here is the board. So even though I can see all my tasks in the previous view, here on the board I can see everything that's in flight, and I can see it by story, or I can see it by team member. If I look at something by story, and I can see that I'm working on this task, I can open it up and see it, or I can just grab the task and move it over to done once I'm done with it. That will update its state to complete it, but it also sets hours to 0. So this is a great way also for each team members to manage their task and see what they have in progress. I can also go look at team member and say, well, what am I working on? I can say, well, I'm working on these tasks, or this is my next task. I can just move it over to in progress. So great way for you to be able to manage your in-flight task and also be able to manage your priorities as a whole. Back to the backlog. The 2 more things I want to show you here. Whenever you're planning your backlog, you want to know how fast can you go? What can you take on a sprint? So a couple of things you want to look at. Here is my velocity. This is my team velocity for this project. So sprint 1, I have 35 story points and 42. Right now, I've committed to 41 story points, and I've completed 18 out of them. Now, if I want to plan for the future, I can turn forecasting on. So I can say, well, based on my forecast, I'm completing about 35 story points per sprint. Show me where things are going to fall looking ahead. So I can see that the next sprint 4, I'll be able to take in these 3 stories. Sprint 5, I can take in the next ones, and then sprint 6, I'll have 1 more. If things change, if we see that our velocity is changing and we're maybe going down in velocity to 30, how is that going to impact our product backlog? I can see that I'm going to be able to take less in sprint 4 and sprint 5 and so on. So this is a great way for you to see what's happening with your project and prioritize accordingly. Maybe based on our velocity, I decide that this one can now go down. It's not important because I need to get more things into my next sprint. And now sprint 4 has changed. So it's an easy way for you to get information. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
I don't see anything in the IM window, Esteban.
Okay, well, we'll continue with the next one. So the next issue that you might have faced as you're building your software is the issue of misunderstood requirements. A lot of times we're looking at a requirements document, and a requirements document might say, hey, I want a button, and a button needs to add a new customer. But it doesn't really tell me how that button should behave, what should that look like. And a lot of times we might spend pages upon pages describing this functionality, when a lot of times it's a lot easier to describe something with pictures, right? I mean, and that's great, but sometimes not all of us are experts at Photoshop or any or publisher or any tool out there to be able to really give something a great image of what we're looking for. So in TFS 2012, Microsoft introduced something called storyboarding. So we're still in our product backlog, and I want to look at these stories. A service rep can view service ticket details from the dashboard. Looking at that, there's a new tab called Storyboards. When I click on Start Storyboarding, this is going to open PowerPoint, and most people know how to use PowerPoint. So once you install Visual Studio 2012 or just Team Explorer on your machine, you're going to get a new ribbon tab on PowerPoint called Storyboarding. And storyboarding, this gives you a way to drag and drop controls from this shapes toolbar onto the screen and really build what you're looking for for your screen. So you can say, I want to add a new button here, and I want the button to have a grid underneath, and you can have a list next to it. So you can build your whole screen throughout this. One thing you could do is I can create a new slide, and I can create a screenshot I can copy and paste a screenshot from my application. So I have an application that has this homepage. So I could say, hey PowerPoint, I want to take a screenshot and take a screen clipping of this. So they just came over, and I want to add a button right here. So what's the easiest way for me to do this? So now I have the screen, and I'm going to take a button and I'm going to drag it right here, and I'm going to see view item. I'm going to call that button. And I don't want my button to look this way. I want it to look orange. So let's give it a fill. I want it to just have a different outline. Orange, and let's go to text. I want my text to be white, just like the other button. And I want this to be the button that I want this template to be used by all my buttons going forward. So I can say, when I like this button, I'm going to add this to my shapes. So now I have my button here. I can take this button and share it to the rest of my team. So next time someone wants to show me a new button being added to the application, I can just drag it in here, and then they can just rename it to save, for example, or whatever you want this to be. So that's great. I have a PowerPoint. So how does this help me, right? So now I can take this and I can save this to SharePoint, or you can save it to SharePoint, or you can really save it anywhere on the network. So let me get to my SharePoint documents. And let's do this. See if this comes up fast, otherwise I'll just use the other one. Let me open up one of the ones that I have, the existing ones, because sometimes my VM gets a little slow. So let's say that I have this storyboard PowerPoint that I already had saved in my PowerPoint, in my SharePoint. So as long as I have it either in SharePoint or I have it somewhere in the network, so it could just be a share somewhere, I can link this to one of my items in TFS. So let's go take a look at our product backlog item number 64 again, and we'll click on the storyboard links. And since this is saved in SharePoint, I can connect to TFS and link it to ID number 64. I'm going to say yes, I want to link it to that. So right from PowerPoint, I can connect to TFS, close this, and save, and good to go. If I go back to TFS and I refresh this, I can see a link to my PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to close it here, so and then right from TFS, I can double click on it and I can open it. So really, anyone in the team, once this is in PowerPoint, can access what we're looking for right from TFS. So this is a great way to communicate what you're looking for without necessarily being a UI person. It's an easy way to get something across. You put the information, take a screenshot of your application, add a button, add a text box, add some additional functionality, and show what you're looking for. All right, Jenna, are there any questions at the moment?
Yeah, I'm window, Esteban.
Let's take a look. Okay. All right. So the next issue that you may be faced with is loss of focus in integrating heterogeneous development team and quality afterthought. So let's say that you are working on on some software development, developing some new features for your application, and all of a sudden someone comes by and says, hey, I need you to fix this bug for me, or hey, I need you to work on a different project. So that's really difficult to handle from a developer perspective. Sometimes you're in the zone, you're developing, someone comes and gets you, and to get back to where you were, it's a really tough thing to do sometimes. You may be right in the middle of a debugging session, you're going to have all your screens open to where exactly where you need them to be, and then someone pulls you out of there, and then that gets you into trouble. And then the other issue could be is how do you get this? How do you communicate between team members? How do you handle code reviews? How do you handle the communication between QA or your test team and your developers? So let me show you how TFS helps you do this. So I'm going to go into Visual Studio, and Visual Studio and TFS, they work very closely together, obviously. So let's say I'm a developer and I'm working on some I'm working on some new features, and I have a breakpoint there, and I've made some changes to my view. Yeah, so I'm on an MVC application. I'm starting to make some changes here, and I think my link just stopped showing. Yeah, let me share again. Sorry about that. Can you see my screen again, Jana?
Yeah, it's back up again. Thanks, Esteban.
Okay, great. So I have other changes that I've made here. And I really just have a few things, and while I'm debugging, I also have a few different windows open. So I want to see my breakpoints window, and I want to see my immediate window, and I want to see my output window. So I have all these windows open as I'm doing all my debugging. Then my manager comes by and taps me on the shoulder, says, "Hey Esteban, there's some issue in with addresses just not populating correctly on the application. Can you fix this?" So now I have a problem, right? Because I'm in the middle of something and I need to be pulled out of that. So how do we handle that? So in Team Explorer, if I click on my work, I can come here. I can suspend my work. So suspend adds on to functionality that's been in TFS since 2005, which is the shelving feature. Shelving allows you to save your local changes to the server without having to check it in. So let's say that I'm done for the day, but I'm not ready to check in. I can shelve my changes, and I can go home and unshelve them and keep working, or I can just shelve them so that they're saved on the server, and I can unshelve them tomorrow. Or if I want to share some code with one of my coworkers without giving them the code, without checking in the code, I can shelve it and they can unshelve it. Well, Suspend adds some new functionality where not only are you shelving the code, not only are you saving the code to the server, but you're also saving metadata about what your environment looks like, so that later on, when you're ready to resume your coding, your Visual Studio looks exactly the same as it did before. So let's do that. So let's suspend this and change this for a new feature, and let's go ahead and suspend that. Yeah, I want to save it. So now all my code has been suspended. I'm going to go to Solution Explorer and I'm going to undo my changes. Everything. Okay, that's already done. And I'm going to go to my window. I'm going to reset my Windows layout. So basically, I'm getting Visual Studio looking exactly the way it did when I first ran it. So you see how my priorities window went down here. The couple dialog windows I had open at the bottom are gone. So basically, I'm back to zero. So let's go and fix the problem that we found earlier. So let's find our issue here. So let's go to our so I found the problem. So the problem was that when the customer was entering addresses, we had only coded for United States zip codes, but then Canadian customers couldn't enter their postal code. So thankfully, I have a regular expression that I had already commented out. So I'm gonna remove my US zip code regular expression and add my US zip code plus Canadian postal code code. One thing that I'm sure you noticed as I was doing this, when I entered address right at the top, Visual Studio automatically showed me all my files that had address in it. So that's something new in Visual Studio 2012. So it's really easy to find files that way. So that this search solution explorer text box it's great. So anyways, once I'm ready to check this in, I remember that we have a policy that every change that we have has to be reviewed by someone else. So I'm going to request a review. So I'm going to ask that my coworker Brian reviews this code for me, and I'm going to enter a subject, and it's going to be code fix, and I'm going to enter, well, I'm not going to enter a description at this point, and I'm going to submit a request for it. So now my coworker Brian is going to get an email saying, hey, Esteban just asked you to review this code. Please take a look at it. So let me show you what Brian would get. So now I'm in Visual Studio logged in as a different person, and I'm going to look at my work. And I see there's a new incoming code review request right here. There's a zip code fix. When I double click on that code review request, I can see the file that was changed. So I can click on the file, and I get a split screen showing me what's changed. So this is the before, this is what got removed, and this is what got added. I just commented out the code, so I didn't really remove it. So there's a couple of things that I can do here. I can create a comment. It's not a code comment, it's really a comment about a code review comment. So I can put a comment on the file or on the change. So I can highlight that line, right click, add comment, and I can say, well, maybe you should remove comment code, and save that. And I can also add an overall comment. So this comment that I just added is specifically to this one line. So if I'm reviewing many files, you can have comments for each one of those files. You can also do an add overall comment, which gives you a comment for the entire code review. So I can put some other comment, looks good. Ready to check in, and save and enter. And now I can either send and finish my code review. I can say, yeah, it looks good, or I can tell them, no, it needs work, or or go back and add make some changes. So it looks good. So now let's see how that gets received on the other side. So back to who I was logged on as, this is camera. So here I can refresh this, and hopefully you can make this out on the link presentation. But as you can see, number 82 is bolded, which means that there's something new with that code review. So I can open it up, and I can see that Brian, my coworker, says finished. It looks good. Let me go ahead and open that up, and I can see the comment. You should remove the comment to that code. Okay, I'll do so. And once I do that, I can go ahead and go to my work and check this in. One of the things I can do before I check this in, I can see that there's a few different work items that I can check in against. I can associate against my check-in. So let's say it was this one that I'm working against. Obviously, I'm working against something else, but just for demo purposes, I'm checking in against this work item. So I can take this item and drag it up to the top. So then that adds it to in progress. And then once I'm ready to check in, I can click on check in. My item gets associated to the task that I have assigned to me, and also gets associated to the code review that I created. Code review request and a code review response, it's implemented with work items in TFS. So it's just like a task, just like a story. It's saved in TFS, so I can associate it. This means that later on, once I check in, I can go and audit my check-ins and say, well, is this change related to a code review? And if it's not, well, we can deal with that accordingly. So I'm going to add a check-in comment, fixed zip code issue, Great. I'm gonna check in. Looks good. It's all checked in. So now I'm ready to go back and fix my and go back and get in coding mode. Get back to exactly what I was working on before. So I can go to my work again. So here under my work, I can see list of suspended work. This is the work that I was working on before. Changes for a new feature. I can right click on that and I can click on resume. So what this is going to do is going to put Visual Studio right back to where I had it before. So as you can see, my properties windows is no longer down here. All my debug windows are here. My breakpoints, my intermediate window is there, and I can see the breakpoint that I had set up before, and obviously the changes that I was making. So this puts me right back to where it was. A lot of times, as a developer, when you're debugging code, you may be 8 windows deep, 8 files open, and you have breakpoints all over the place, and it can be frustrating when someone asks you to stop what you're doing and get on something else. But this really helps you get a lot closer to being able to resume right away. Obviously, there's always going to be a little bit of work to do, but at least it gets you back to where you were. How many windows did you have open? How many? Where were your breakpoints? What files were changing? So this is a great way to do that. So now let me show you how testers and developers can work together to find issues. So I'm going to switch users to one of my testers. And I'm in Microsoft Test Manager. So Microsoft Test Manager was introduced with TFS 2010, and if obviously some new features were added in 2012. Some of the new features that were added is the concept of exploratory testing. So if you, for those of you that are not familiar with Microsoft Test Manager, it is a tool used by testers, primarily by testers, to be able to create and manage test plans and test cases. Microsoft Test Manager helps you put some automation around your testing, helps you see the results of your tests, and group different tests together in different test suites. So I have a few different test suites that I've created here with some test cases. And let's go and I'm going to show you how to create something new that was introduced with 2012 called exploratory testing. So in MTM 2010, if you wanted to start just running through the application to find issues, you had to create a test case, a blank test case, and just and start clicking through the application. There was no way for you to really explore your application without having following a script. But in 2012, they added this great feature called exploratory testing, which allows you to just start recording the application, see what you find. If you find something, you can create a bug. If you didn't find anything, you can report it as great. This was a successful exploratory testing session. You can either start exploratory testing without associating that to any story, or you can say, well, I'm going to explore this one story. A customer should be able to remove items from a shopping cart, or I should be able to see images of items. In my case, I just want to explore the application, see what I find. So clicking on Explore is going to open something called my test window right here on my left-hand side, and that's something that's there within Microsoft Test Manager when you run a test case. So this allows me to click on Start, and this is going to start recording everything I do. So I'm going to open up Internet Explorer. And I'm going to go to my intranet. And as you can see here at the bottom, it's recording all my actions. And I'm going to just click around, see what I find. So customers look good, employees are fine. Good tickets. And let's take a look at the first ticket here. You can see that all the data looks good. See how the delete functionality works out. And then when I get here, I notice that my created by and my assigned to are empty. So that's an issue. So I need to be able to report this to my developer in an easy way. Now I could write this whole thing up and remember all the steps that I took, but as I mentioned earlier, MTM was recording everything I was doing. So let's leverage some of that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of this, because I know that they won't believe me. The developers won't believe me when I tell them that this was broken. So I'll take a screenshot of that. The screenshot gets added to my to site here. Now I can double click on that screenshot. Sorry, I think I just broke link again. Okay, you should be seeing my screen in a second again.
It's loading, Esteban. Okay, it's back up.
Okay, yeah, I apologize for that. So that when I double clicked on my image, my Microsoft Paint came up. So whatever your default image editor is will come up, and then I can edit this image. So I can just put a big circle around this, or a circle that looks like a square, and then I can save this, and that will be included with my exploratory testing. Well, next thing I want to do is I want to create a bug, and I want to make sure that everything about what I did gets reported to my developers. So I'm going to click on Create Bug right on the left-hand side. And this automatically picks up everything I did. So now I don't have to spend a lot of time remember what I did or writing out the bug. This allows me to really spend the time doing the things that are important, which is reporting the bug, right? So I can put a title here at the top. Created by and assigned to our mission. And I can assign it to one of the developers. And here's the list of all the steps. And not only is it listing the steps, but I took a screenshot of exactly what I clicked on. So I clicked on tickets, I clicked on dashboard, I clicked on that first link, and it just shows you exactly what I did. And it even includes the screenshot that I took and the markup that I did to my screenshot. I can even change the steps. If I don't really want to care about all the steps that I did, I can click on Change Steps, and this allows me to change all the items that get included in me reporting this bug. So I can say, well, I really just care about these 3 steps. I know that the first ones I was just clicking around; it didn't really matter. So let's just report those. That's because the rest of the bugs were just me clicking around, see what I could find. The important thing was that I clicked on tickets, I clicked on that link, clicked on delete, and this came up. So I can save and close, which is going to create a bug, and the developer is going to find it. Or I could also do this, click on this button that says save and create a test. What this will do for me is that it's going to create the bug, and it's also going to create a test case that I can later use to verify that the bug was fixed, which is really valuable, because if I'm creating a lot of bugs throughout the day and then a developer fixes the bug, I may not remember all the steps that I took to generate the bug. And yes, the steps are here, but I really want to make sure that I'm tracking all this through MTM. So I'm going to click on Save and Create Test. So what it does is it enters the bugs into the system and assigns it to the developer. And then it's going to let me create a new test case. So this is going to be my test case called Verify Created by and Assigned to our Populated. And this gives me the list of steps to follow. And I can save and close this. And now I can my session shows that I've created a bug and a test case. I can even expand this and show them right here. And once I'm done with my exploratory testing session, I can click on End Testing, and I'm back in FTM, and I get a list of my listing of my exploratory testing notes, and I can see all the test cases that I created. the bugs that I created, I can get to the bug. Right from the bug, I can go to the test case, and since I created a test case while I was generating the bug, I can go look at the test case. So it's all linked together. Once the developer takes a look at the bug, creates a task within that bug, and fixes that bug and checks in, now we're going to have full integration between the exploratory testing session, the bug that I created, developer fixing that bug, developer checking in the fix for that bug, then I'm able to run my test case to verify that bug that was fixed. So that's really key. That's the integration that TFS brings to the workflow between developers and testers is it's a really it's a great thing. It's something that's invaluable in what I do. We use this type of functionality on a daily basis, and it's really great to see how you're able to track everything, and not from a hey, I want to make sure that I can see everything, but it's really from a understanding how development practice is moving forward. So let's say the developer does say, okay, Esteban, I'm done with with the bug that you assigned to me, so I can go to the verified bug area, and I can see all the bugs that were created by me, and there's the bug that I just created right now, and just by clicking on the verified button, I'm taken right into test case execution mode, and I can say, okay, let's start test, and I can start following instructions here. So I'm going to click on the tickets link. That looks good. Click on that first link. That looks fine. Then click on the delete link. And obviously this is broken still, so I can say, no, this is failing. I'm going to fail this, and I'm going to end my test. And I'm going to update an existing bug. So we're already assigned to the bug that we're fixing, and I can say, well, show me the bug that I was fixing and update that. I can save and close this, and this bug's still going to be open. If the bug would have been really complete, so if I went through the verify workflow and I started test and I got through the end and everything looks good, when I end test, my save and close. Now MTM is going to ask me whether I want to mark this as resolved or not, and yeah, everything looks good and the bug is fixed. So it's even though I'm in two different tools, one is Visual Studio, one is MTM, they're both connecting to TFS 2012, and TFS 2012 is allowing the communication back and forth between my different team members. And it's one of the really key things to remember is that when we say team members, we're not just talking about developers, right? The team members is everyone who's building software together. So we shouldn't just be trying to solve the problem of how do two developers communicate together. It's really how does the product owner and the developers and the testers and the BAs and the deployment people, how do they all talk together? And TFS really helps you get there. So the other problem that we often run into is trying to deal with the unmet user expectations. So one of the key issues that a lot of times you see with, for example, with a waterfall approach is that a product owner or a customer may not see a piece of software until very late in the process. So it's difficult to manage an issue where when they see your application and they're expecting it to have red buttons all over the place, and you deliver blue buttons, or you just didn't deliver the right buttons, right? How do we manage that? And we've solved a lot of that by going to an agile approach of building software, and it's very effective. But wouldn't it be great if you're able to get feedback from the customer even more often, and not only the frequency that you get this feedback, but wouldn't it be great if the feedback that you get from the customer gets fed right into TFS and you can act on it? So let me show you how what they've done in TFS to give you some capabilities to work with your customer. So let me switch back over to my right, so I'm going to go into into TFS again. So right from my homepage, from my team project homepage, I can click on request feedback. So what request feedback does is there's a new feature that was included in TFS called the feedback client, which allows any user to once they get an email, which I'm going to show you the email that's going to be generated, they're going to be able to gather information and get some feedback, take some screenshots, take recordings, rate your work, and then send it right into TFS. So let me show you how that will work. So this is the home page that we're trying to get the feedback on. So select stakeholder. So I'm going to send an email to one of my stakeholders, Julia. And I'm going to tell her this is a web application that I want you to test, and this is the URL that you should be testing. So, and send some instructions. Open your browser. Then I want some feedback on different pieces, right? So I'm on this application, maybe I want some feedback on my dashboard, and maybe I also want some feedback on the customer section. And so let's go back here and let's take a look at the dashboard. So we're going to say that we added and then we might be getting some feedback also on the customer. Great, so now I'm asking her to get some feedback on this. And then I can, if I click on preview, I can see Julia is actually going to get an email with this. So we want your feedback on these items, and then start your feedback session. If you have installed the feedback tool, you can install it, just download from Microsoft.com, and it will take you right there. If you already have the feedback tool, you'll be able to just open it. So I'm going to send this. So behind the scenes, what this is doing, this is sending a couple of things. It's sending an email, but it's also sending feedback requests. So I can see some feedback here. So I can see the feedback responses, but I can also, what I sent was actually a feedback request as well. Let's see if the feedback made it to my outbox yet, and we can take a look at that. Here it goes. There's the email that we want to see. So let's open it up. So this is the email that they're going to get. The email from administrator, who it came from. This developers invited to for feedback session. So how do we do that? So we're going to click on this link, start your feedback session. Feedback client for TFS comes up, and then what I just built is going to be presented to them. So follow the instructions below. Application, my instructions. Open your browsers and go to app. So click on that. Here's the application. So now I can click on next. And a couple of things I can do here. I can take screenshots. I can record the screen. So I can say, hey, record everything that I do. That way they get it. I can screen with voice. So sometimes it's easier for me to explain what I'm doing. So let's go ahead and click on, I want to record the screen. So I'm going to record what I'm doing. Are the colors? I don't like these colors down here. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. And I'm going to put a note under this, like these to be green, for example. So now they're going to get some feedback on this, but the rest is okay. So I'm going to give it a 4-star rating. So then I'm going to click on next. And my next item is try out the delete functionality for customer section. Great, so I'm going to click on customer. And I'm going to click on delete. Are you sure you want to delete this? Everything looks good. Yep, let's go ahead and delete that. Oh, that's not good. So let's go ahead and take a screenshot of that. And I'm gonna say looks like it's broken. And I'm gonna give it a 1-star because it's not good. So I'm going to click on next and record the feedback, and I can change my feedback review here, submit and close. So now this went right. Not only am I going to get an email telling me, hey, you just got some feedback, But if I go to TFS, refreshing this, sorry, it looks like my link just stopped working again. Let me show this. Jana, can you see my screen again?
Yeah, it's back up, Esteban.
Okay, great. So now I have two feedback responses. Remember, I asked for two different pieces of feedback. So even though there were, it was only one request, I asked for two different pieces. So the two that I just got back are these two. So first big feedback response about the dashboard. Let's take a look at it. The screen clipping is here. There's a recording. Remember, I was recording the screen. So that's actually a video of what I did. I like this to be green. I can go to links, and there's a recording. I can double click on this, and it just opens up Windows Media Player, showing me what I did. So as a developer, as I see this, hopefully this comes through okay on the recording, on the link presentation. So I'm showing you a recording of what I clicked on and what was the stakeholder doing. Right? So this is pretty valuable because you can see how did they get to the application and what did they do here. From here, I can go back to my links, and I can say, great, well, let's go ahead and create a new story for this. I'm going to create a related product backlog item. So change messages to green because this is what my product owner is asking for. And I'll save and close this, and then I can move on to my other feedback response that I received and take a look at the customer section. This is broken, so now I'm going to go to the to links, and I'm going to create a related bug for this. So new link work item, I'm going to create a child bug. Okay, and save and close. So now I have, going back to my backlog, customer deletes broken and change messages to green are right on my backlog, and I can move them right in. I can say, well, this is the next thing we're going to work on, and this is actually going to be a sprint 4 item, and customer deletes broken. That's really important. So that's the top priority. Movement for maybe changing the messages. It's not so important, so we'll move it down here, and we'll get to it at some point. But this is really important. So hopefully that showed you how easy it is for you to get feedback and how to act on that feedback by getting work right into your backlog and reacting to change very, very quickly. So with that, and I don't really have time, unfortunately, to show you the right-hand side of this, but there are many other places where you can where TFS comes into play to help you solve your application lifecycle management issues. You might have some disparate management tools. TFS helps you solve that and get into take a look at production incidents and new learnings and really get everything back in the product backlog. So with that, if anyone has any questions, I really thank you very much for coming to this. If you want to contact me with any further questions, my email address is esteban.garcia@agilethought.com. It's right here at the top. You can contact me through Twitter, and you can go to our webpage at www.agilethought.com. Again, thanks everyone for coming to this seminar.
Thank you, Esteban. I was going to see, I'm going to request control and put up the first of 4 quick poll questions. I thought maybe you would want to put your email address in the IM window.
Definitely, yeah. I just gave you control, Jana.
Okay. I'll scroll through these for a few minutes after the meeting to give you a chance to answer, and we'll stay on the line for a couple minutes if you want to put any questions you may have in the IM window. Your feedback is valuable to us, so please just take a moment to answer these poll questions prior to logging out. I'm toggling to the second poll question. And as a reminder, you can request a copy of the slides directly from our presenter today in the IM window or make a request to him via his email address at AgileThought. And I'd like to thank Microsoft partner AgileThought and speaker Esteban Garcia for their presentation today, AgileThought Presents TFS 2012 FTW. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's online meeting. Thank you for joining us. And once you finish the poll, you may now disconnect. Thanks.